Hello, welcome back to this session, or welcome to those of you who are joining us just now. The session is co-hosted with our partner organizations, UN Habitat and the Local 2030 platform. My name is Sujin Kim. I'm the deputy head of the Cities, Urban Policies and Sustainable Development Division here at the OECD. And I'll have the pleasure of serving as your moderator for this session. Just a quick word of housekeeping for those of you who might be joining us just now. So like all sessions of the OECD Urban Days, this session is still being recorded and we will put the recording publicly available on our website later on. So if you do not wish to be filmed or recorded, please kindly let the secretariat know at the back of the room. And this session is also being translated in the two official languages of the OECD, which are English and French. So we will be speaking in both languages, but also I understand that we will hear some Spanish and some Portuguese later on during the session. So please do make sure you have a headset with you. So over the next hour and a half, we will travel around the world together to hear very concrete stories of how these global goals of the Sustainable Development Goals are translating into very concrete local realities. Cities and regions are using the SDGs as a framework to guide and shape their policies. And hopefully they are seeing some results, some tangible outcomes that they're going to share with us today. And hopefully this will also inspire some of you who might be willing to engage on the SDG localization journey as well. So as you heard during the session just before, cities and regions are critical actors in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. It is estimated that around 2/3 of the SDG targets will not be achieved if cities and regions are not actively mobilized and engaged in their implementation. And this is why at the OECD, since 2018, we have developed this full program to help cities, regions, but also countries to localize the SDGs and push them forward on the ground. So we are providing different types of support to do this. The first tool is data, as we discussed in the previous session, together with our delegates from the OECD Working Party on territorial indicators. We have internationally comparable data to measure how different cities and regions are performing on the different SDGs. And if you have not done so yet, please do go and check out our interactive web tool. So next time you have 5 minutes on your phone, please look for the OECD web tool to measure the distance to the SDGs in cities and regions, and you will be able to find how more than 600 cities and more than 530 regions are performing on the SDGs and compared to their international peers, but also compared to their national average. A second way we are helping the cities and regions localize the SDGs is to provide targeted guidance. So through a dedicated project that always ends up with a publication. And we have already done this with 11 cities and regions around the world, and some of them are represented here today to share their story. And the third and final way is that we bring this international community of practice around the same table because you are all championing the localization of the SDGs in some ways. And so we have organized 7 roundtables so far, and today is actually the 8th edition as part of these OECD Urban Days. So today we have, I think, 5 amazing panelists who will all share their SDG stories, and we will alternate between cities and regions. And as I just said, we will also alternate between languages, so English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. So to kick things off, we are heading to the Basque Country in Spain, where we have just wrapped up our latest policy paper on a territorial approach to the SDGs. It's really fresh off the press. I see a copyright here that we're gonna waive. But so the Basque Country has been a front runner really in integrating the SDGs. It actually started its journey in 2016. And it's also home to the headquarters of the UN Local 2030 Coalition Secretariat. So since the Basque Country has started its SDGs journey in 2016, it has adopted several milestone documents. So for example, I'm going to pronounce it pretty badly probably, but the Euskadi Basque Country 2030 Agenda. Okay. And you also have an SDG action plan to implement flagship projects that are related to key SDGs, such as renewable energy and housing. And so it is my pleasure to welcome Asier Arambari, who is Director for Social Innovation and the SDG Agenda in the Basque Country. So my question for you, Asier, is that, so the Basque Country has been integrating the SDGs into local policies for almost 10 years now. And from your experience over the past 10 years, what are some of the most concrete and visible impacts that this localization journey has had on the local development of the Basque Country? And in particular, I remember from our work together that you have put in place a very collaborative governance framework to make that happen. So can you tell us a bit what has worked well there, and also perhaps what remains to be done? Because I'm sure there's not only good news, there's probably still some work to be done. So the floor is yours.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. It's a big pleasure to be here with you. Para nosotros, la clave fundamental de la buena implementación de los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible es la buena gobernanza, que tengamos un sistema de gobernanza colaborativo. Y ante la pregunta de qué implica integrar los ODS en nuestras políticas, yo destacaría cuatro cuestiones. En primer lugar, los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible dan una visión integral y sistémica al programa de gobierno. En segundo lugar, los ODS consiguen que las políticas públicas sean más coherentes. También los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible priorizan mejor la política de gastos al alinear el presupuesto con los objetivos. Y por último, lógicamente, los propios objetivos, gracias a su espíritu de trabajar en red, en alianza, facilitan también la gobernanza colaborativa. Four ideas, principal ideas. The SDGs give a comprehensive and systemic vision to the government program. The SDGs make public policies more coherent. The SDGs give better priority to spending policy. And the SDGs facilitate collaborative governance. Estas cuatro ideas para nosotros son fundamentales. ¿Cómo se articula la gobernanza colaborativa en el caso de Euskadi? Pues el propio informe recientemente hecho por parte de la OECD lo dice. Tenemos un foro de transición social y Agenda 2030 que se articula a través de una buena coordinación interinstitucional entre los tres niveles de gobierno, gobierno vasco, nivel provincial foral, diputaciones forales y 251 municipios. Pero en el foro está integrado también la sociedad civil organizada. Están las tres universidades del sistema universitario vasco, está el consorcio de los centros tecnológicos, está el tercer sector social y está una amplia gama de agentes económicos, sociales y culturales. Y junto a ello está lo que hemos llamado la Alianza Vasca por los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible, donde operan más de 140 agentes económicos, sociales y culturales de toda índole. Por tanto, ahí está nuestro modelo de gobernanza, que es un modelo de gobernanza que trabaja de una forma muy intensa y muy colaborativa. El ejemplo principal de ello es el Plan de Innovación Social y Agenda 2030 recientemente aprobado. Un plan que tiene tres principios inspiradores: la propia gobernanza colaborativa, la coherencia de políticas, que para nosotros es una cuestión también básica, y la perspectiva de género. y tiene 4 líneas de actuación. El primero de ellos es una línea de actuación novedosa, que es el fortalecimiento de la comunidad, profundizando en los valores democráticos a través de la gobernanza colaborativa. Para nosotros es una cuestión crucial en estos momentos determinados, teniendo en cuenta los vientos que corren en el mundo y como consecuencia de la crisis del sistema multilateral que padecemos. Es reivindicar el fortalecimiento de la comunidad, es reivindicar los valores democráticos y es particularmente reivindicar también el propio sistema multilateral y el trabajo en red, el trabajo en alianza. Sería la primera línea de trabajo. La segunda es la implementación de la agenda, contribuyendo a la misma por parte de todo tipo de organizaciones y por parte también de la ciudadanía anónima. En ese sentido, la sensibilización y divulgación de la agenda es fundamental. Y aquí hemos iniciado un camino en torno al Objetivo de Desarrollo Sostenible 18, que para nosotros también es un objetivo fundamental, que es el relativo a la diversidad cultural y diversidad lingüística. Entendemos que para que la agenda se pueda implementar debidamente bien es fundamental reconocer y reflejar en la propia agenda la idiosincrasia de cada territorio a través de lo que es la diversidad cultural y lingüística. Estaría lógicamente la proyección internacional. Tenemos la suerte de contar en Euskadi, en Bilbao, con el Secretariado Local 2030 de Naciones Unidas. De forma que el foro, que antes he comentado, que es nuestro modelo de gobernanza, se va a convertir en hub del Secretariado Local 2030. Y por último, el plan recoge otro apartado que para nosotros es fundamental, que es el apartado relativo a los proyectos compartidos. Estamos obsesionados en generar proyectos de índole compartido entre las instituciones y la sociedad civil organizada y no organizada, la ciudadanía anónima. Y este es el modelo de gobernanza que tenemos. Y a partir de este modelo de gobernanza es a partir del cual pues, queremos hacer frente a los grandes retos que tenemos como país, que son los retos también que indica el propio informe de la OCDE. Y termino con esto, que particularmente en el caso nuestro serían el envejecimiento de la población. Sería también, lógicamente, una apuesta aún más decidida por las energías renovables, porque tenemos una gran dependencia de los hidrocarburos todavía. Y luego otras 2 cuestiones que también para nosotros son fundamentales, la relativa a la vivienda y la relativa también a la movilidad. Son una serie de recomendaciones que recoge el informe recientemente hecho por parte de la OCDE y en nuestro caso, pues tener un sistema de gobernanza articulado a través de una buena coordinación interinstitucional y una buena incorporación de la sociedad civil nos permite responder a estos problemas realmente complejos con una visión integral y una visión sistémica. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was very interesting to hear how you framed collaborative governance, not just as a working methodology, but also as a real shift in the way you shape the different policies and programs in the Basque Country. And I was struck by what you said about how it helped strengthen the democratic ties and the community. We actually have an OECD trust survey here that shows that the level of citizens' trust in local governments, in some national governments, is higher than the level of trust in national governments. So I think it really underlines the critical role of local and regional governments in rebuilding, in a way, the social contract and strengthening trust in our society. So thank you so much for this testimony. We will now travel to Germany, to the city of Mannheim. In the metropolitan region of Rhein-Neckar. We had the pleasure of working with you in 2023. So the metropolitan region of Rhein-Neckar has put in place no less than 11 fields of action to advance sustainability across different policy priorities such as mobility, innovation, energy transition, and education for the future. And so with us today is Christian Hübel, head of the Department of Democracy. Oh, sorry. I was continuing to look for you over there, but I guess you shifted there. So Christian Hübel, head of the Department of Democracy and Strategy in the city of Mannheim. So welcome. one of our recommendations in the OECD policy paper on Rhine-Neckar was actually to, well, for the region of Rhine-Neckar, was to help municipalities use SDGs budgeting so that the adequate financial resources could be allocated to the implementation of the 2030 agenda. And the city of Mannheim, as far as we could see, is not only a pioneer in the localization of the SDGs, but also pretty advanced in SDGs budgeting and how you're linking the SDGs to municipal budgeting and planning. So I would like to hear from you what has been the impact of this SDGs budgeting practice in the city of Mannheim, and if you would have any advice or source of inspiration that you could share with other cities and regions or countries around this table who might want to follow your track and might want to engage in this difficult exercise of SDG budgeting. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you.
The microphone, yeah.
Yeah, thank you first of all for inviting the city of Mannheim for sharing its experiences in implementing the SDGs. I'm from the city of Mannheim, and we are working together with the region of Rhine-Neckar, which is also a good benefit for us all for showing multi-governance systems in these functional areas. Because when you know Rhine-Neckar, it's a part in Germany where three federal states coming together. And so you can imagine that you have to contribute to common goals, which is sometimes not easy due to several governments of the federal states. First of all, when you want to implement the Sustainable Development Goals, you have to think about who and what is determining the management system of your city. And usually it's the financial department and the Department of Human Resources. And even if a mayor comes, like our mayor, Peter Kurz, who is saying, I want to implement the SDGs for thinking global, but act local, it's very different because the people are usually not convinced. They are asking you, okay, nice idea, but do you have money? It's like somebody is coming from outer space, like a satellite from the UN, and now coming to the tiny Mannheim and saying, hey, we are working on the global goals. And then they say, okay, not bad, but our task is fixing the streets, educating the children, etc. pp. And now the thing is, how do you get the people convinced not to locate extra money, because you don't have to have extra money, but to contribute to the global goals. If, by the way, if you're using the existing system. And so first of all, we were looking for the budget plan. And in the German budget plan, you have products like the school buildings, like the street lights, like working on social affairs. And then we were labeling them with the global goals. First of all, very easily, so that everybody's seeing we're still contributing on the SDGs. So they are seeing, okay, we're contributing, we are doing the work, and we have a contribution on the local level. That's the first thing. So they're saying, okay, it's not additionally. But that's not all, because some of them are saying, okay, check, we're working on the SDGs. The most important thing of the SDG framework is, do you have an integrated vision of localizing the sustainable development goals? Are you working on this vision? Are you measuring your progress with the indicators? And then after a debate, are you improving your system and your measurements? And this means integrated thinking, getting out of the silos, and also looking for a cultural, holistic approach for thinking, okay, we are working on ourselves to making Mannheim more sustainable, to making the lives of our citizens and our environment better, but also we are contributing to the global level. And there it helps, like the former Chancellor Merkel says, we have three categories of the SDGs. The first of all, how we are localizing them to making the world in our municipalities better. And when you're looking about the first SDG, fighting poverty, it's about how we are fighting poverty in Mannheim. The second thing is that we have to reflect what we are doing and what is having an effect on others. And when we are talking about poverty, we are saying, okay, we don't want to be responsible for poverty in other parts of the world. And this means, for instance, fair trade. which is not only a question of coffee and chocolate. It's especially in Germany a question of where we get our stones for the streets for. And we don't want to buy the cheapest stones from somewhere in the world, from Asia or South America, where the people are not paid by the loans of the trade unions, or they have children work. So we don't want to do this. And the third thing is that's the Champions League, how we can support others to achieve their goals, which is for municipality very hard, because legally we are not allowed to work with others to help them. So we have to use the help from the ministries, which is very good, or other networks like the city networks from Urbeck, UN Habitat, etc., PP, also Eurocities. So making an exchange and making the world better for sharing the knowledge. What we've done then, we were localizing the SDG in a big strategy process, first of all within the administration, but then also in the civil society. So over a year, we had a lot of participation processes where we were asking in these 3 ways the people, hey, what you are thinking about the SDGs, how is it implemented in Mannheim in the way of education, gender equality, etc., pp. What are we doing to make the world better in other ways, so that the people were contributing, okay, we're working on the new strategy, Mannheim 2030, but we are also contributing on the global level. After this big process, we had a strategy with 7 strategic goals based on education equality, making the life better in our quarters, but also contributing in international networks on the global level. And this is the mission statement, which is relevant for all administrative parts. And they're contributing now with internal goals to this mission statement, which is then directly related to their products in the budget plan. So it has a real effect, and it's not an advising paper that you're saying, okay, we are working here, then here's an advising paper, and then everybody's asking you, okay, nice, it's additionally, and do you give me the money? You have to integrate it in your in your system which you are using. And on the global level, as Mayor Rio said, cities are crucial for localizing the SDGs, but also for contributing on the global level, because at the moment, I think about 60% of the people are living in cities and urban areas. In Europe, it's about 77%. 80% of the GDP is raised there, but also 75% of the CO2 emissions. So it's crucial to implement the SDGs to make a contribution for the global level to achieve the Agenda 2030 and leaving no one behind. So this integrated framework of the SDGs helped us for improving our citizens' life, but also contributing on the global level. We can measure it for the last 5 years that we are improving every year. And an advice, an advice first of all is integrated in your usual system, which you're using in the city, not making it additional. And what we have made also good experiences as a quick win is to have an easy voluntary local review, so that you have an integrated view of your city, where are you standing and where are the gaps, and then you see, okay, where we have to put most of the power on it. And I think how in a multi-governance system, the national level and the international level can help is bringing us and supporting us with tools, but also with legitimization. Because at the moment, I've also been asked, why are you in Paris and not working on your work in Mannheim? Because we are at the moment facing a big cost-cutting program. And so we also have to legitimize how it helps to improve the life in our cities. But I think we can do this. And so you have under the quote, achieving more together, localizing the SDGs helps you locally to make the life of your citizens and the environment better in your city, but also contributes on the global level that we are achieving the Agenda 2030. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Christian. I think it's another example of this collaborative governance framework that we had heard from Asier in the Basque Country, but applied in the case also of a very complex federal country context with the 3 Länder that you described very well. And I liked a lot the power of concrete labeling and integrating, existing systems rather than adding an additional layer that would seem like a supplementary constraint, to stakeholders who might be a bit reluctant to engage into this exercise. So thanks a lot for sharing this experience. I'm sure there will be maybe some questions for you later on. But for now, we're going to move, so I'm in the right way this time. We're going to cross the Atlantic Ocean to go to Brazil, all the way to the state of Paraná. One of the biggest states in Brazil. It's home to more than 11 million people, I think, and it's a state that has been very proactively embedding sustainability into its state strategies. And we have worked with Paraná twice, once in 2021, and then most recently in 2024 to support the creation of a statewide sustainable development plan. And so I am delighted to introduce Kelly Guimarães, who is the General Superintendent of the state of Paraná. So the state of Paraná has used the SDGs as a tool to address many challenges in the state, such as health, education, and public safety. And I understand, Kelly, that one of the objectives for the state of Paraná is also to use the SDGs to try to reduce territorial inequalities between municipalities. And you actually have a lot of them, 400, around 400 municipalities in your state. So can you perhaps share with us how the SDGs have helped you do that, addressing this goal of reducing disparities across municipalities, and what kind of impacts you have seen on the ground? And I think we're going to switch to Portuguese. So let's go back.
Bonjour, good morning, bom dia a todos, obrigada. Quero agradecer primeiramente a Aziza, o Stefano, a Aline, que não faz mais parte dessa casa, mas está sempre com a gente lá no estado do Paraná, o Lorenz, que nos atendem tão bem aqui. E como foi mencionado, o estado do Paraná já vem trabalhando, né, com a OCDE há vários anos. Nós começamos essa parceria em 2019, já foram feitos 2 relatórios, né, explicando e agregando muito no que o estado do Paraná já pensava em ser feito. Então, eu agradeço muito e é bom falar em terceiro aqui lugar, porque daí eu pude ouvir um dos nossos amigos, né, e saber que as nossas dificuldades lá no estado são dificuldades vividas, né, por cada região do mundo. Então, nesses 2 dias nós temos aprendido muito com todos vocês e podemos também compartilhar o que fazemos lá no estado do Paraná. E o nosso diferencial é que possuímos uma estrutura completamente dedicada a projetos e iniciativas em articulação, né, localização, principalmente descer ao nível local, parar de ficar pensando atrás de uma mesa, como um Estado, como um governante pode atingir as pessoas. Esse é o nosso maior foco. E isso nós aprendemos muito. Eu me lembro que em 2018, ainda antes dessa parceria, eu era chamada de louca porque eu gostaria de levar realmente ao nível local tudo o que essa agenda faz. E como o nosso amigo da Alemanha bem falou, eu parecia um ET, né, lidando com tudo isso dentro de um estado com 399 municípios. Então, mas conseguimos, né, a passinhos de formiga, atingir as 399 prefeituras do estado com um termo de compromisso envolvendo toda a comunidade e aos objetivos de desenvolvimento sustentável. Então, dentro do estado, além, né, de toda essa percepção, nós também vimos que a Agenda 2030, os ODS, elas só não eram categorizadas com tudo que nós fazíamos, né, com projetos que eram executados. elas só não eram categorizadas, mas a gente conseguia atingir muitos deles. Então, eu vou dar um exemplo para vocês de um BI criado na superintendência para atender todo o estado do Paraná com desagregação ao nível municipal. Nesse BI, por exemplo, vou citar um dos levantamentos, nós estávamos acompanhando o indicador de nascidos vivos com consultas pré-natal e registrou-se em 2020, no primeiro período pandêmico, um recuo nesses atendimentos. Então, a Secretaria de Estado de Saúde buscou atualizar e fortalecer a linha de atenção materno-infantil, e essa priorização elevou novamente os índices, e conforme o BI, o indicador subiu para 87% de atendimento, nos nascidos vivos com consultas pré-natais. Esse indicador subiu, como eu falei, em 2023 e 2024, e colocou o Paraná como líder no ranking nacional de consultas pré-natal pelo Sistema Público de Saúde. Nós lançamos também, depois do primeiro relatório da OCDE, um programa chamado Prospera, em desenvolvimento junto ao Tribunal de Contas do Estado do Paraná, que é uma iniciativa de capacitação para lideranças desenvolvida, como eu disse, junto ao tribunal. E nosso objetivo é treinar pelo menos um ponto focal para o desenvolvimento sustentável em cada um dos 399 municípios paranaenses. Além disso, nós temos o Polis, um programa que une o BI e o Prospera, em apoio aos municípios no planejamento, execução e monitoramento de políticas alinhadas à Agenda 2030. Além de todas essas ferramentas, a nossa estratégia para implementação local é baseada no modelo de quádrupla hélice. É uma abordagem colaborativa que envolve os governos estadual e federal, a academia, a sociedade civil e o setor privado. Com relação à academia, por exemplo, nós lançamos um NAP, que são arranjos de pesquisa, especificamente para a Agenda 2030. É uma rede colaborativa de pesquisa acadêmica voltada aos ODS, que contribui para a tomada de decisões baseadas em evidência. Neste sentido, eu trago brevemente 2 exemplos concretos, e inspiradores de como políticas públicas pautadas nos Objetivos de Desenvolvimento Sustentável podem mudar a vida das pessoas. Então, eu vou começar com uma delas, de uma comunidade costeira da Baía de Paranaguá, onde enfrentamos um desafio crítico, que é a falta de saneamento básico e seus impactos na saúde pública, na pesca e no meio ambiente. Com o apoio do nosso porto de Paranaguá e da universidade, implantamos tecnologias de tratamento de esgoto, promovemos educação ambiental e fortalecemos as comunidades locais. Essas ações, com apenas 6 meses de trabalho, beneficiaram mais de 70% das residências da ilha, além de protegerem a Baía de Paranaguá. A meta é que agora, em 2025, a gente consiga expandir a 100% esse tratamento de esgoto na ilha. Eu vou agora para Londrina, que é é a segunda maior cidade do estado do Paraná. Eles desenvolveram o conceito de parques lineares. São estruturas multifuncionais que combinam a vegetação nativa, trilhas e equipamentos urbanos. Esses parques, eles se caracterizam pela presença marcante de áreas verdes ao longo dos rios. Imaginem isso tudo dentro de uma cidade. Ao integrarem o meio ambiente natural ao urbano e oferecerem diversas soluções baseadas na natureza, tal como o controle de cheias, reduzindo os riscos de alagamento e de infiltração no solo. Bom, falando tudo isso, nós temos programas dentro do estado, como o nosso Banco de Fomento, que ele categoriza, em seus editais, que as pessoas que trabalham em prol da sustentabilidade e alinham a economia, porque todos, né, temos que pensar também no lado econômico, em geração de emprego, mas alinhado aos objetivos de desenvolvimento sustentável. Então, nós conseguimos, com essa parceria, juros mais baixos nessas linhas de crédito, para que a nossa população, principalmente mulheres, né, que enfrentam um risco social em qualquer lugar do mundo, não é só no estado do Paraná, consigam ter as suas atividades econômicas, sustentar seus filhos. Então, o nosso governador pensa e prioriza muito essas mulheres. Então, puxando o link, eu vi no primeiro dia o ministro das Ilhas Maurícios, e ele falou da grande dificuldade que eles têm, de todo o problema que eles estão enfrentando por irresponsabilidades mundiais. E eu quero muito pedir a todos vocês que a gente possa, né, se unir para fazer a diferença dentro das casas das pessoas paranaenses, as casas das pessoas do Brasil, como de qualquer outro país ou região do mundo. Então, o Paraná está de portas abertas para aprender com todos vocês e para compartilhar todas as nossas experiências. Muito obrigada.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing this very powerful example of how to scale sustainable development across such a large but also very diverse territory. And I'm sure it's providing a source of inspiration for many around the table. So thank you for that. We are more than halfway through our world tour of the SDGs. So let's go back to Germany. But this time to the city of Bonn, with whom we have worked in 2020. Bonn has a strategy called the 2030 Sustainability Strategy, which is directly linked to the SDGs to address some key challenges I'm sure will resonate with many of the challenges that you are addressing at home. So, for example, providing affordable housing, expanding and maintaining green areas in the city, shifting to clean forms of transport and energy, and also providing employment opportunities for all, including the lower skilled parts of the labor market. So the city of Bonn has published not one, but 2 voluntary local reviews so far. We have discussed them in the previous session. So voluntary local reviews, which are this self-assessment tool that cities and regions are using to report their progress on the SDGs. And as we were discussing earlier, the number of voluntary local reviews has accelerated exponentially across the world. So we have more than 330 to this date. So it is my pleasure to welcome Stefan Wagner, Head of the International Affairs and Global Sustainability in the city of Bonn. So Stefan, my question for you would be, what have been the benefits of developing these 2 voluntary local reviews for the city of Bonn? And is it, I hope it's not been a one-off exercise, but you have been able to use either the process or the results of these VLRs to shape policies and drive, long-lasting improvements and outcomes for the well-being and development in the city. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, first of all, for inviting me to this session and for giving us the opportunity to present a little bit on the experience by the city of Bonn in implementing VLRs. For us, the voluntary local review and sustainability reporting is an integral part of our sustainability management on local grounds. As was already mentioned, the backbone of our sustainability management is the strategy that was put up in 2019, where we defined 6 areas of action. You mentioned some of them that all link to the SDGs and give the overall holistic approach of the city in sustainability management and SDG localization. Now, the reporting plays, of course, an important role because it is a tool of monitoring the effectiveness of our implementation at the local level. and it also creates awareness on how we do SDG implementation, and it tracks the progresses and also enhance transparency towards the local public and also to the local decision makers. And as has been mentioned already in the previous sessions, it's also for me, from my point of view, a very important tool for communication, because people relate to what the city is doing and how progress looks like. In Bonn, we have a long history of sustainability reporting that goes already back into 2005, so long before the SDGs were adopted. But of course, we eventually added indicators that match with the SDGs to this reporting. And now the voluntary local review, as we understand, is a particular exercise, because this is not only meant to be addressed to the local public, but also in particularly to the decision makers on, let's say, the national and in particularly the international level. So it is for us, it is an important tool to raise awareness for the outstanding role that cities and regions play worldwide in localizing the SDGs. And as you already mentioned, there are 300 cities, I think, worldwide that already use this tool. And I think we are very well in gaining awareness as cities and regions in the importance of SDG implementation on local grounds. One example, a very recent example, is that I think Anja Wagner mentioned it this morning, that the German National Review this year already, or for the first time, has a section particularly addressed to the cities and local governments in Germany, which I think is a good progress, also an appreciation and awareness of the work of local governments in Germany in implementing SDGs. And what I found particularly interesting, that 15 German cities that all handed in a VLR in the past, self-initiatory, so to say, put up a local voluntary local government review that was compiled and edited by the German Institute of Urban Affairs and the German Cities Association, showcasing challenges, but also good progress of local level in implementing SDGs as, let's say, a nationwide experience, including very large cities like Hamburg and very small cities at the same time. I think this is a great example to showcase what cities can do now in Germany in this case, but also there are similar, I think, initiatives in other countries. And we very much hope that this report will also be presented at the HLPF this year in New York. For us, it is also very important to have this management because it helps us to relate to our city decision makers and get support for the work we are doing. Now, you asked on what is, we handed in 2 VLRs, this is right, based on our sustainability reporting in Bonn. What do we see for the future? We see trends in, there is a great need and interest in more actual and specific data for the decision makers, but also for the citizens here in our city. So this is why we momentarily envisage policies that policies are monitored with more detailed data. For example, we have the goal to become climate neutral by 2035, and the climate compass has been put up on our website that showcases very actual data on the climate development in our city. We do the same now with the sustainability agenda. We do a sustainability dashboard that is almost finished in preparation and will be put up on our website shortly. That gives an overview on our SDG strategy and the 17 SDGs that we handle. And it is a tool that we hope that people can easily relate to, easily understand, and it provides very actual data instead of the reports that are very hard to read sometimes and are very large in size. So this is an additional tool to the reporting. We hope to be more active and more communicative to our citizens. And also we relate our city budgeting with quantitative sustainability indicators at the moment to make sure that our budgets are related to our goals on SDGs. I think this is in short what we are doing in terms of reporting also in the future. And you mentioned about the impact. We believe that the VLRs is a great tool in at least creating awareness also to our decision makers, showing trends, positive and negative, indicating needs for action. Whether or not politicians relate to that is a different question, but we see in our community that a lot of departments relate to the sustainability strategies and to the SDGs for their specific specific programs. And so the SDGs is a very important tool as a holistic approach for sustainability management that I think provides a good future for our sustainability management on local grounds. Thank you so much for your interest.
Thanks a lot, Stefan, for this testimony. I was very struck by your argument about how reporting, when it's done meaningfully, and when it is accompanied by user-friendly tools, can not only help shape all these policies and programs, but also help raise awareness and communication, which was a key point raised in the previous session. I actually see our architect from Sciences Po who had raised this point at the end of the previous session, but I think it's a package really, going beyond the actual report, which stays, of course, on its own, but it's really designed to empower this communication across the city or the territory. So thanks a lot for that. That brings us to now a little bit south of Europe, but to the north of Italy. So we are going to the autonomous province of Bolzano-Bozen, with whom we have worked, hello, in 2023. And through our policy paper on the SDGs in Bolzano-Bozen, I remember I was very interested to see that the province, if I remember correctly, I think 80% of the province territory is considered mountainous, and only 6% is considered habitable. And but it's also the most tourist-intensive region in Italy, and you have, I think, more than 90% of tourists who have to get there by private car. So I guess it will come as no surprise that the province has such a focus on preserving the natural environment, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but also promote the competitiveness and also social justice in the province. So I am very pleased to welcome Klaus Egger, who is the sustainability manager from the autonomous province of Bolzano. The province has this sustainable development strategy that has a very striking name: Every Day for the Future. So it tells you something. And it includes, among its 7 fields of action, all these objectives that I mentioned earlier about protecting the natural environment and reducing emissions, etc. So Klaus, I was wondering if you could please share how the SDGs have helped you develop initiatives and priorities that cut across different departments in the provincial administration, and how you've managed to coordinate these actions across different departments. We had heard earlier, sometimes how it was difficult to convince some departments, including the financial department in the local and regional administration. But I think you've managed to do that, in particular through the climate action plan in your province. So can you enlighten us on how you managed to do that? And if there are any, of course, challenges ahead that you see. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. And you already mentioned one of the almost challenges in our territory. So I think I'm going to repeat a lot of things what my former colleagues expressed in this panel. And it's one hand, it's a relief to see that we all facing the same challenges. And for this, I think, thank you for this, when I heard it right, first edition of the OECD Urban Days, because this sharing moments, challenges, and best practice, I think it's very important, and especially in times like these when sustainability seems to be losing priority on a, let's say, global political discussion. But I'm convinced that precisely because of this growing pressure, we must join forces and bring the urgently needed transition back to the center of our discussion. Today, I don't just want to talk about how the SDGs help South Tyrol design and implement sustainable policies in different strategic papers. I also want to talk about where things get difficult, as mentioned, because Also yesterday at the conference, someone said, I think it was the mayor of a city in Spain, and also my colleague Mara Cosso this morning as well mentioned it. We shouldn't only talk about our successes, but also about our struggles. And I fully agree. Public administrations are not ideal systems. They are institutions with political mandates and yes, human limitations. And yes, they are full of people, I think same as here, with emotions, beliefs, and real-life challenges. The SDGs have provided us in South Tyrol with a valuable framework. They help us understand the connections between climate, the economy, biodiversity, social justice, or education. But they don't automatically solve conflicts. They show us where the tensions lie, yes, and that's already helpful. But the real work begins there. A concrete example, as mentioned, is the South Tyrol Climate Plan 2040, adopted in 2023. Its goal is to make our province climate neutral by 2040. And what makes it maybe a little bit special is that it was designed not just as a technical document with a lot of technical issues and monitorings and measures, but as a systemic one, fully aligned with the SDGs, I think, but getting there wasn't easy and is already not easy. We started with an energy plan. We already had an energy plan from 2011 that was due for revision the second time by 2020. And at the same time, we were developing our sustainability strategy, this overarching framework, what we called Every Day for Future, which was adopted 2021 by our local governments. So instead of simply updating the energy plan, we decided to create a plan that, on the one hand, addresses all sources of greenhouse gas emissions, not only energy, but also, for example, including mobility and agriculture, because in South Tyrol, mobility is crucial, is responsible for 43% of CO2 emissions, and agriculture contributes around 17% of total GHG emissions. On the other hand, the plan also focuses on the ongoing transformation process and embraces a systemic perspective. This brought us straight into the reality of policy making. These sectors fall under different departments, each with its own priorities. Working across departments sounds great, but it's tough. It requires coordination, persistence, and political backing from the highest level. The creation of our unit for sustainability, which I lead, and which reports directly to the governor, helped a lot. But it has been, and it's a learning experience. We quickly realized goal conflicts are real. Take agriculture. Climate goals often conflict with food production, landscape preservation, and rural livelihoods. The SDGs help us identify these tensions, but they don't resolve them. Another example is building renovation. Everyone, I think, agrees is essential for climate action, but it's expensive. If you have financial means, you can renovate. If not, or if you live in public housing, it becomes a challenge. The SDGs tell us to leave no one behind. This is a core principle of the 2030 agenda. But putting that principle into concrete policy, that's where it gets difficult, and that's where we have a lot of discussions. The climate plan also presents opportunities for innovation, jobs, and regional value creation. This economic perspective is important. I think it's also crucial to see the benefits of the change. But again, finding the right balance between support, efficiency, and fairness is not easy. We are consistently learning, adjusting, and negotiating. And I think that's the key message, that addressing these challenges, put it on the surface, say that it's not easy and they are all there, is the first step to going in an honest discussion. Another yes, 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 and then everything is doing what they want. The SDGs are a powerful tool. I really believe it, if we take them seriously. They help us think in systems. They remind us that every action has side effects, not just in one department, but across society. The do no significant harm principle, the second one, from my opinion, a very important one, expresses this well. It reminds us to consider unintended consequences, even if they're not immediately visible. Because if we do not address them and we lose the public, because our messages are too complicated or disconnected from daily reality, we create room for others who offer overly simply answers to very complex problems. We must make sure our policies are not only smart on paper, but also relatable and understandable. so people feel they are part of the solution and not left behind by it. So what do the SDGs give us? If I had to choose one word, it would be orientation. They help us to stay on track in a world full of complexity and uncertainty, but they don't do the work for us. Turning goals into real change requires political clarity, the willingness to see how everything is connected. And that's the only way systemic transformation becomes possible, by understanding that everything and everyone is part of a bigger picture. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Klaus, for this very frank testimonial and yeah, stimulating us to think about how the SDGs can help us tackle complexity, and that it's not a black or white picture indeed, and there are trade-offs to be managed across different policy goals. And the SDGs can help us, manage these potential tensions. And sometimes you struggle, like everyone else, but we learn from it. And I'm sure we'll come back to this issue. We were going to have a sixth speaker, but from the city of Bordeaux in France. But unfortunately, she had to drop out because she's sick today. So it gives us the luxury of having a good 20 minutes, I would say, for questions, comments, reactions, violent objections, anything that comes to your mind after hearing our panelists share their perspectives. If my colleagues can put the slide with the questions for discussion back on this screen, that will also help us refresh a bit our memory on the key priorities or questions that we were hoping to discuss with you today. So of course, you're very much welcome to share any example of concrete impacts or effects that localizing the SDGs has had in your different cities, regions, or countries. We're also very much welcome to share any struggles or challenges so that we can all reflect on them together, of course. And there is no judgment here. There is no right or wrong answer, obviously. And finally, if people around the table also have examples from voluntary or local reviews that have been conducted in your own territory, you're also welcome to share that. And the rule to ask the floor remains the same, meaning that you can raise your name tag like this to signal if you would like to request the floor. So we'll go around the table, and please do raise them, progressively so that we have a pipeline. So we'll start with VVSG.
I actually have a question for the speaker of Paraná. So my name is Hanne. I work for the Association of Flemish Cities and Municipalities in Belgium. And I was wondering actually about the capacity building program you mentioned on training focal points in each municipality on sustainable development. I actually have 3 questions. First of all, where does the financing come from for this kind of program? Because it asks for a lot of personnel. I also think transport to all these different municipalities. The second question, who are these focal points? Are those people already working in those municipalities? To which services do they belong to? And the third question, how do you see this working on the long term? Because if you have one focal point, people also leave the organization. How to deal with this change of personnel?
Obrigada pela pergunta. Então, respondendo ao primeiro item, são parceiros voluntários, tá, para desenvolver essa capacitação. Eles gravam muitas vezes em suas casas ou nas empresas que trabalham, enviam para nós né? E o Tribunal de Contas também voluntariamente, sem envolver outro tipo de valor a mais do que já é o necessário para manter a estrutura, compila todas essas informações. Foram feitas trilhas metodológicas, né, partindo do mais básico para que a gente possa realmente explicar o que os ODS, o que a Agenda 2030, o que as Nações Unidas pode trazer a nível local, porque, como eu estava dizendo antes, é uma realidade muito distante do que acontece nos municípios, né? Principalmente no estado do Paraná, que os municípios, a maioria deles tem, às vezes, menos de 5 mil habitantes. Então, eles... Respondendo a outra pergunta também, são pessoas que já trabalham com o tema, como eu disse, voluntários. Nós convidamos e eles ficam à vontade em falar sobre o tema que a gente sugere, né? Seguindo toda essa trilha metodológica. E o que a gente prioriza também, lógico que essa plataforma ela é aberta a todos, tanto líderes municipais, prefeitos, vereadores, quanto à estrutura governamental, como deputados, enfim, mas ela é também aberta para os técnicos e as pessoas em geral da comunidade, porque, como você falou, os governantes passam, né? Mas a metodologia tem que ser seguida, tem que ser aprimorada, principalmente ao longo do tempo, conforme a necessidade que cada município tem e vive, né, a sua realidade. Então, a gente procura também ter um número grande de técnicos que são que fazem parte da estrutura local permanentemente, independente de governos que passem. Espero que eu tenha respondido. Mais alguma dúvida, eu estou à disposição.
Thank you so much. We'll take the next two questions. I believe we have one from the University of Bath, and then I saw a flag up there. Is it Porto? Yeah, and I take this opportunity to flag that we also have a floating mic, and I see Noakshat as well, thank you. We also have a floating mic, so if people around, well, sitting in the back row of the room would like to ask a question, we'll make sure to bring the microphone to you as well. So we'll go to the University of Bath first, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. What I would like to reflect on here is what happens within the city. One of the things I encountered when we were doing research on water security at our university was a discussion I had with one of our local councillors in the city of Bath. And what he said to me is that within 4 bus stops, life expectancy of people could drop 10 years. So for me, that was a reason to drill down further into, in my case, water security in terms of assessing how water security works within the city. So I think with SDGs, I think localization is a good way forward because it creates the incentive for developing further on the local situation. But actually, I think we should drill down further into smaller sites, neighborhoods, districts within the city to see how the differences within the city itself are. So my question to the panelists is what is your experience with that? And do you look into these areas? And of course, we've seen if you drill down, you need data for that. But we have done for our water security framework 2 cities. One was Mexico City, and the other one was Campinas in Brazil. And we actually found the data for doing it. So I think it's really worth going into that direction. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. We'll take the next question from Porto, and then I'll give an opportunity to panelists to react. Porto, please.
Hi, thank you, everyone. My question comes a little bit from the experience that Porto has had in the SDGs. Following a JRC joint study, we did a VLR. It didn't have the impact it was supposed to. It did also take a long time to publish from the data collection, sorry. And And so we have, at the same time, a sustainability reporting every year. I think we're the only city in the world that does it yearly. And this did facilitate stakeholder buy-in. And so we did an experimental SDG exercise this year in which the indicators are chosen by the teams, and so they are aligned to the targets. This does facilitate the work of collecting the data and working on it, because it does not have that sense of coming out from space that Christian referenced, in which the SDGs come onto these very practical, hands-on operational teams. And so my question would be, how would you follow up that, considering that you do not have the governance for the SDGs? How do you follow up on exercises like the VLR sustainability reporting with SDG indicators? How do you do the next steps on this work? Thank you.
Thanks a lot for these great questions. So we have granularity, how to go more granular in a smaller scale, and also, yeah, what are the next steps after you've done this massive exercise of publishing a VLR? So do I have any volunteers in the panel to get started? Let's go to the Basque country.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias por las preguntas. Trataré de responder conjuntamente a las dos preguntas. Para nosotros un punto básico y fundamental son los propios informes voluntarios de progreso. En el caso concreto de Euskadi hemos presentado el 8º informe voluntario de progreso, que tiene la virtualidad de que es un informe multinivel. De forma que en el informe voluntario de progreso incorporamos ya los avances tanto del gobierno vasco como de las diputaciones forales como de los ayuntamientos, particularmente las 3 capitales. Euskadi es una realidad pequeña, pero a su vez compleja. Tenemos 3 niveles institucionales, cada uno de ellos con un nivel competencial y con unas capacidades competenciales importantes. Por tanto, el hecho de trabajar conjuntamente el informe voluntario de progreso a nosotros nos ha ayudado mucho a determinar de entrada cuáles son para nosotros las políticas públicas prioritarias que mejor contribuyen a los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible, y eso lo hacemos entre los 3 niveles institucionales, de forma que en el informe voluntario de progreso presentado en marzo de este año ya se refleja cuáles son las políticas públicas vascas en su conjunto que mejor contribuyen a los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Para ello tenemos un sistema de indicadores completamente alineado. Un sistema de indicadores alineado también entre los 3 niveles institucionales: Gobierno vasco, diputaciones forales y ayuntamientos. Tenemos más de 350 indicadores alineados entre los 3 niveles que están completamente actualizados y en permanente actualización por parte del Instituto Vasco de Estadística, el Eustat, y que son una serie de indicadores que responden a las metas, lógicamente, de los objetivos definidos por Naciones Unidas, y por tanto se trata de una batería de indicadores completamente comparable con cualquier otra realidad regional o realidad local. Y la virtualidad de este sistema de indicadores es que se trata de un sistema de indicadores que nos sirve a nivel regional, nos sirve a nivel provincial, nos sirve a nivel municipal e incluso nos sirve a nivel de barrio, a nivel censal. De forma que exactamente con los mismos indicadores podemos hacer el seguimiento de nuestra contribución a los objetivos en los 3 niveles: Gobierno vasco, diputaciones y los municipios. Y dentro de los municipios incluso a nivel de barrio. De los 350 indicadores convergidos, más de 70 los tenemos ya también a nivel municipal, lo cual nos permite hacer un buen seguimiento. ¿Cuál es el siguiente reto? El siguiente reto es determinar cuáles tienen que ser nuestros objetivos a nivel de país en relación a los diferentes objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. A partir del cual, pues definir bien esos objetivos y una vez que los tengamos bien definidos, con un buen sistema de indicadores, hacer el seguimiento. Hasta el momento, con el sistema de seguimiento que tenemos, podemos reflejar en los informes la tendencia, si esa tendencia en relación al cumplimiento de los objetivos es positivo o es negativo. Pero queremos dar un paso mayor y queremos ya definir concretamente cuáles son los objetivos anuales, bianuales y de legislatura en relación a todos y cada uno de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Para lo cual tenemos ya una batería de indicadores establecida Por eso mismo estamos también o somos parte del programa Catalyst de la Unión Europea y esto nos permitirá, pues con una buena batería de indicadores, concretamente con 55 indicadores prioritarios, determinar bien cómo estamos llevando la implementación de la agenda a nivel de Euskadi. Por tanto, es fundamental para nosotros tener un buen sistema de indicadores convergido y que sea un sistema de indicadores que se pueda trasladar hasta el nivel municipal y que sea el mismo sistema de indicadores tanto interna como externamente para poder hacer las comparativas, tanto, por ejemplo, con la media de la OCDE como con otra serie de medias. Por tanto, para nosotros es fundamental hacer una buena medición y este sistema de indicadores nos permite hacer una buena medición y saber en qué momento estamos y cómo tenemos que trabajar de una forma multilateral y de una forma interinstitucional para poder cumplir con los objetivos que nos hemos puesto. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you have any further reactions from Paraná. Yeah.
Obrigada. Respondendo dentro da nossa realidade paranaense as duas perguntas, nós, além, né, do Prospera, toda essa capacitação que eu falei, internamente nós discutimos com os municípios e com a estrutura governamental quais as metas que seriam aplicáveis à realidade do estado do Paraná. Então, nós chegamos a um universo de 150 metas que são totalmente aplicáveis aos 399 municípios e comparáveis, como o nosso amigo aqui do País Basco falou, para poder descer, né, a nível municipal e ver tanto nos bairros, fazer esse acompanhamento multinível dentro do estado e com isso poder gerar um conteúdo. Nós já conseguimos mapear também dentro dessas 150 metas 104 indicadores medidos pelo Business Intelligence, né, dos ODS. Então ele é aberto a qualquer pessoa do Paraná, do Brasil ou do mundo para que possa acompanhar a evolução do estado. Nós fazemos uma série histórica, né, lá dentro de como estávamos e como hoje o Paraná reflete toda essa experiência com os ODS. E essas audiências públicas nós usamos para dar pertencimento à sociedade, à população, de que eles estão e são, né, as pessoas que têm a propriedade de falar sobre as suas necessidades, do que acontece dentro dos seus bairros e dentro dos seus lares. Na estrutura interna do governo do estado, foi desenvolvido pela até a diretora Luciana, que me acompanha aqui, o projeto Mandala, onde a gente procura, dentro desse projeto, explicar para os nossos próprios servidores, que são as pessoas que vão replicar lá fora, o que os ODS refletem na realidade, né? Então a gente cuida muito disso. Nós estamos com uma preocupação dentro do estado, como já foi relatado aqui, do envelhecimento da população e principalmente o que tem nos sensibilizado muito quanto ao governo é a saúde mental também. Então, se alguém tiver uma experiência que a gente possa adaptar à nossa realidade, será muito bem-vinda, porque a saúde mental e o desenvolvimento humano é uma preocupação, né, depois da pandemia, principalmente. Obrigada.
Thanks a lot for this reaction. We have 4, if I counted well, 5 now, 5 questions from the floor. So in the right order, we'll go to Nouakchott first, then to Rocher in the WRI, and then Tallinn and Cleveland, and finish with Keith. Nouakchott, please.
Merci, bonjour tout le monde. Moi, je vais parler en français. Donc, ma question s'adresse à la dame de Paraná. Vous savez, à Nouakchott, on est confronté à ce que j'appelle un paradoxe hydrique. On a un problème d'accès à l'eau potable. On a aussi un problème d'excès, de l'eau en excès. Quand il pleut, on a des inondations, à l'instar, j'imagine, de beaucoup d'agglomérations africaines. La mise en place d'un réseau d'assainissement, elle est un peu coûteuse, relativement coûteuse. Et du coup, j'avais apprécié la gestion que vous avez accordée aux OIZ que vous avez cités. Je suppose que c'est des solutions low cost. J'aimerais bien si vous pouvez développer ça davantage, en fait. Ça nous permet de regarder ce qu'on peut faire chez nous. Merci.
Merci beaucoup à Nouakchott. On va garder la réponse peut-être pour juste après avoir pris toutes les questions. Ok. Donc on va aller. We're gonna go to Rohit.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for the very inspirational case studies. I was wondering, so as a cities organization, we work with many cities, and jobs are not unimportant KPI for a governor or for a mayor. So I was really interested in Bolzano. You already kind of alluded to the kind of economic opportunity of achieving SDGs. So it would be great to hear a little bit more about how you, as cities and states, have understood the correlation between the economic opportunity and achieving SDGs, or how you have managed to kind of create a narrative or communications to the wider public about it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Rohit. Let's go to Tallinn.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. Actually, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of maybe important elements when it comes to implementing or localizing SDGs. I think one of the biggest challenges is that we are still seeing SDGs in silos. We are picking the most important or prioritized SDGs, or when we are implementing them comprehensively, then still we are implementing them in silos. But we know that SDGs are representing a very comprehensive approach to tackling interconnected challenges across social, environmental, and economical sectors. And a very important element is that they are integrated, and they should be also implemented as a whole in integrated ways. Which means that when it comes to city strategies or policies or investments or financing, we really need to focus on integrated and holistic approach. And I think here the main challenge, at least for the city of Tallinn, is not funding. It is not about money. It is about governance. It is about administration. It is about capacity and competencies of the city organization, starting from politicians and ending with officials, how to integrate, how to use SDGs holistically in their work. So we know what needs to be done, but how? And this how question is question of governance and administration. And we really need to focus on kind of designing new governance and administration methods. We have to move away from traditional administration to more maybe open, agile, modern and collaborative governance, as was given example from Basque country. And very important here is also that these governance methods and proceedings should help to break the silos, or at least if we're not able to break those, we have to be able to teach silos to dance. And that's what we are trying to do in the city of Tallinn. In 2022, we established Tallinn Sustainability Governance Hub. And the main objective of that hub is to really focus on comprehensive, the whole governance approach when implementing and localizing sustainable development goals, how to mainstream them. We started actually with comprehensive alignment of SDGs with Tallinn's development strategy, which is called Tallinn 2035. Now that strategy is fully aligned with sustainable development goals. We have key KPIs for monitoring SDGs, and we also have operational level SDGs. Also, actually, we created Tallinn Sustainability Governance Model, which really involves 4 main elements. Governance and policy development, communication. It was mentioned here that communication, storytelling is very important as well, but also organizational capacity and linking SDGs with the city budget. And here, and actually this Tallinn Sustainability Governance Model was selected this year among 100 European, let's say, flagships of public governance model modernization. And besides of that, I think very important is that SDGs are, let's say, used also when it comes to deciding about or prioritizing about the city investments and development activities. And for that, we have actually elaborated ex-ante assessment tool where we are actually kind of assessing social, environmental, and economical impact of all city investments. And basically those investments which are having bigger positive impact from all these three perspectives will be prioritized. We piloted that tool last year and we are continuing it. And the aim is that will be used across the city. But I really think that we need to really also focus and talk more about governance, kind of holistically, not about climate governance or water governance, because when we are talking about them, we are talking still in silos. But
I'm so sorry. We just have to go through the rest of the questions. So I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I'm sure there will be plenty of opportunities after this to discuss further. Apologies for that. Let us go to Cleveland and then we'll finish with Keith.
I'll try to make this brief. My name is Cassandra Sweeney. I'm an associate professor and faculty sustainability chair from Cuyahoga Community College. We're in Cleveland, Ohio. We are part of an ongoing case study with OECD considering connections between local governance and higher education and around the SDGs. The representative from Braga earlier and now Parana both mentioned the role of higher education institutions in providing ongoing data around SDG measurements. What I'm wondering is, as a panel, can you provide any further or additional direction for how higher education institutions can assist in the co-creation of more transparent data and public communication to reduce some of these shared challenges?
Thanks a lot for this critical question. And then, as I said, we'll finish with Keith Thorpe from...
Thank you. I speak as a semi-retired central government official who was very actively involved with the OECD's work when I was employed by the central government. And this is a comment as well as a question from a UK perspective. I think that, to be honest, the SDG agenda in the UK has really seen a lack of engagement by local authorities and possibly a lack of enthusiasm by the UK government. Only a handful of local authorities in England have been really active in using SDGs. I think they include cities like Bristol, London, Manchester, Sheffield, Liverpool, and their interest, I think, has varied, waxed and waned a bit. Some have worked very closely with local universities to promote capacity to develop their databases. But I think the big barrier has been that the UK government has, although it has a commitment to monitor progress on the SDGs at national level, and it actually produced a voluntary national review in 2019, further work at national levels, I think, has been stalled. And the government itself has been a bit ambivalent about how far it wants to promote this work. Now, it's been very much left to local authorities and in some cases universities to progress, and voluntary organizations to progress this work. So my question really would be, well, what encouragement or resources have cities and local authorities in other countries received from national or regional governments to help them progress the work on SDGs, or has it been left solely to the cities themselves to do it? I think it should be, ideally, it should be a partnership at all levels of government, but in practice, certainly in the UK, that's not really happened. And the lack of political commitment at national level, I think, has been partly responsible. And also leaving it to the local level, but not providing any resources to help them deliver it at a time of austerity, an austerity budget. So it's been a massive challenge, but it'd be interesting to know whether government has a role and could it do more? Is it doing more in some countries? And what difference has that made? Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Keith. And I said it was final, but we still have one final coming from Japan, please.
Thank you for chairperson. So several speakers mentioned housing. So allow me to share about specific policies, housing policies with local governments in Japan. So in recent years, so some local governments have established collaborative partnerships with the private sector to revitalize aging public housing and make more effective use of private rental prosperities. Furthermore, the private sector has increasingly leveraged digital technologies and home delivery networks to enhance the quality and accessibility of support services. In 2024, the national government decided to institutionalize these initiatives by enacting relevant legislation. A comprehensive implementation framework is currently being developed to enable local governments across the country to carry out these efforts effectively. This framework will also support the monitoring the number of local governments and private organizations engaging in such initiatives, as well as tracking their progress. In the summer of 2024, this year, the national government will present its policy direction. Following this, local governments, particularly housing and welfare departments, each local governments, and alongside real estate related agencies, welfare organizations, and private sector partners will work together to strengthen the development of localized housing support systems. The key point is that collaboration, especially housing policy, should be implemented in conjunction with welfare policy. Until now, these policies have often been carried out separately. Public-private collaboration in this area is still in this early stages due to time constraint. So I'm unable to elaborate fully today. However, Japan stands ready to share concrete examples of local initiatives and policies, as Tokyo Governor mentioned, and the city of Kitakyushu City mentioned 2 days before. So aimed at assisting individuals who face difficulties in securing housing. So we hope to continue our cross cooperation with the international frameworks such as OECD, and we welcome opportunities for information sharing and dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing the experience of Japan. So let's go back to the panel. Perhaps starting with Mannheim, if you would like to react.
Yes, thank you. As Bath, we also have the same problem. When you have the SDGs or the Mannheim 2030 vision, then you see that you have different suburbs and city districts. And as in Bath, we have a difference in the life expectancy in one city district, which has a life expectancy of 85 years and the other of 69 years. And so we have to look for the different measures, what means healthiness or education in these different districts. And we are having suburb or district managers for focusing on this. And we can exchange, if you like to, the question to the how do we start if we don't have the governance. Perhaps as an advice, start with the willing people, start with participation processes. And I can advise the World Urban Campaign by UN Habitat, which brings you also a legitimization on the top level. And perhaps on the third, to the Austrian side, I mean, the SDGs 8 and 9 are addressing industry and industrial growth, which was a hard discussion because some people are saying we don't want growth, but it is in the SDGs. And so it's not an opposite. And I don't know the study, but on the last or the on one HLPF, there was a study that enterprises are performing better when they are using sustainability and the SDGs, and perhaps we can harvest this expertise again.
Thank you. Yes, best country.
Tratando de responder a las diferentes preguntas que ha habido, que han sido sumamente interesantes, en nuestra opinión, nosotros consideramos la propia gobernanza colaborativa como un factor de competitividad desde todos los puntos de vista. Y es lo que estamos trabajando particularmente con el mundo de la academia. O sea, la consideración de esta nueva forma de trabajo, que es la gobernanza colaborativa, como un factor de competitividad territorial. Y ahí es fundamental implicar, lógicamente, al mundo de la empresa. ¿Y cómo se le implica al mundo de la empresa? Pues trabajando particularmente lo que es la competitividad sostenible, entendiendo la competitividad y la sostenibilidad como las dos caras de una misma moneda. Y ahí, sinceramente, creo que estamos dando pasos sumamente interesantes desde todos los puntos de vista. Y estoy completamente de acuerdo con la intervención del compañero anterior de poner en relación los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible que generan riqueza y generan empleo con el resto de objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Esto es el 8 y el 9 y buscar la relación entre el ODS 8 y el ODS 9 con el resto de objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Y eso ponerlo al servicio de la empresa, de forma que la empresa también, contribuyendo al ODS 8 y al 9, contribuye también, lógicamente, al resto de objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Fundamental también implicar al nivel local. En nuestro caso particular, en el caso de Euskadi, hemos abierto dos líneas de financiación, dos líneas presupuestarias, entendemos importantes. Por una parte, el programa de bonos Agenda 2030, para poder sensibilizar y divulgar lo que es la Agenda 2030. Una línea específica de ayudar a los municipios, en nuestro caso 251 municipios, a alinear sus presupuestos con los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Y luego ya otra línea de ayuda, que es la novedosa en este plan de innovación social y Agenda 2030, de generar proyectos transformadores de carácter compartido. Obligar a las instituciones, obligar lógicamente entre comillas, a las instituciones y a los agentes económicos, sociales y culturales a generar, más allá de sus políticas habituales, proyectos de carácter compartido que tengan carácter transformador. Y sinceramente, a través de diferentes experiencias piloto y lógicamente con la metodología de prueba-error, sinceramente creo que vamos avanzando en la buena dirección. Thank you very much. Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you so much. We'll have to take, I think, the rest of the answers to the different questions and comments to the lunch break, because I would really like to give the 4 or 5 remaining minutes to 2 people to close our session. So the first one is, well, those of you who know, who've been around for the past sessions know that we dedicate a youth moment to give the floor to a young graduate or a young professional to give us their perspective. And so I will now switch to French. So give you a few seconds to put on your headset. Je vais donner la parole à Monsieur Ulysse Burel, qui est responsable des villes et entreprises responsables au Hub Institute, qui est un think tank spécialisé dans les transformations digitales et durables. Donc voilà, la parole est à vous pour 2 minutes.
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Merci déjà pour l'invitation et puis pour l'ensemble des échanges de qualité, les différentes sources d'inspiration de ces différents territoires. Vous avez dressé pendant les échanges différents constats, différents enjeux qui sont propres au territoire, des enjeux environnementaux, des enjeux climatiques, des enjeux également démographiques, socio-économiques, voire même géopolitiques, qui sont en fait le fondement des ODD. Je voulais retenir pour ma part des leviers d'action, des outils fondamentaux qui sont à votre disposition, qui ont d'ailleurs été évoqués par les uns et les autres. D'une part, l'enjeu fondamental du financement et de la mobilisation de fonds publics et privés pour justement financer, flécher les investissements vers ces transitions. D'autre part, bien sûr, et c'est d'ailleurs un peu cette maison en est un peu le meilleur exemple, un enjeu autour de la coopération entre territoires, de tous les pays du monde, pour justement trouver des synergies communes, mutualiser des ressources, potentiellement s'inspirer de ce qui se fait de mieux ailleurs. Et le troisième levier d'action que je voulais aussi faire apparaître, c'est celui de l'innovation. Je crois beaucoup pour ma part à l'innovation locale et à l'ingénierie territoriale sur lesquelles s'appuyer pour justement travailler, faciliter, tendre vers ces transitions et répondre aux objectifs finalement du développement durable. Et donc du coup, sur ce sujet de l'innovation, puisque je suis censé incarner justement cette jeunesse pendant quelques minutes, je voulais dire un mot sur l'enjeu des prochaines décennies aussi, sur le numérique et sur l'intelligence artificielle. L'IA, typiquement, revêt de risques, bien sûr, d'opportunités aussi, d'un potentiel colossal qui est, je pense, partagé par toutes et tous. Et bien sûr, une réflexion sur les conséquences pour les territoires à anticiper. Déjà, sur le potentiel, alors sans faire du technosolutionnisme un petit peu binaire, mais il y a de nombreux usages très concrets qui apparaissent d'ores et déjà pour les territoires. Un rapport du Sénat français a publié récemment justement les usages de l'IA dans l'action publique et qui a mis en avant des cas d'usage très concrets. On parle de modélisation d'impacts environnementaux, on parle d'optimisation énergétique des bâtiments, on parle de lutte contre la congestion urbaine et donc de lutte contre les différents types de pollution en milieu urbain. On parle de lutte contre les îlots de chaleur et on parlait tout à l'heure d'enjeux démocratiques, on parle aussi d'enjeux de relations renforcées entre les collectivités locales et les administrés. Je crois fondamentalement que ces bouleversements liés au numérique, la digitalisation et à l'IA doivent être pris en compte et traités par les gouvernements nationaux, bien sûr, mais aussi et surtout les gouvernements locaux. Et je crois que c'est ce qui nous rassemble aujourd'hui. Dire aussi qu'il est nécessaire, bien sûr, de réfléchir aux conséquences de ces bouleversements pour les territoires. Je pense par exemple à l'enjeu du télétravail qui apparaît post-pandémie et qui nous oblige à réfléchir autrement au territoire. Ça va poser des enjeux sur la gestion du foncier, sur le secteur tertiaire typiquement, sur les mobilités en ville et bien sûr sur notre rapport au logement fondamentalement. Je crois que c'était Bill Gates qui disait il y a quelques jours, qui s'exprimait il y a quelques jours justement sur, avec l'avènement de l'IA, la semaine de travail à 2 jours n'est plus une utopie, mais elle pourra arriver à horizon 10 ans. Voilà, donc je crois qu'il y a vraiment un enjeu de réfléchir à cet enjeu-là. Et juste pour conclure aussi sur les risques d'une non prise en main par rapport au territoire, et pour faire référence plus directement avec le sujet de la session sur les ODD, le 10e ODD vise justement à réduire les inégalités. Je crois fondamentalement que puisqu'il existe des opportunités franches liées à l'IA et au numérique et à la digitalisation, des conséquences directes aussi pour les territoires, les territoires, les populations qui n'auront pas pris ce fameux virage de l'IA, tant sur les infrastructures que sur les usages, d'ailleurs, verront leurs inégalités renforcées. On va parler d'accès à la santé, d'accès à l'emploi, d'accès au logement, d'accès aux services publics, d'accès à la culture, et bien sûr aussi d'accès à l'éducation. Voilà, ce sont des sujets qui sont à traiter à mon sens. Je vous remercie.
Pour finir, je vais donner le mot de la fin à Radzi Hamadi, qui est le directeur du MBA sur les transitions urbaines à l'université Léonard de Vinci, avec laquelle on a eu le plaisir de collaborer tout au long de ces journées urbaines pour le mot de la fin. Radzi, à toi.
Merci Soujin, c'est une fierté, un véritable plaisir et un grand bonheur que de participer à ces Urban Days avec évidemment nos étudiants et l'ensemble des dirigeants ici présents, dont l'action et les témoignages inspirants sont une invitation à l'action. Donc évidemment, merci. Nous venons d'entendre des témoignages, comme je le disais, inspirants sur la mobilisation des villes et des régions autour des objectifs de développement durable. Alors tout de suite, parce que c'est notre rôle, même si quelques cheveux blancs m'empêchent aujourd'hui d'appartenir au témoignage de la jeunesse, pour être un peu provoquant et essayer de démontrer comment aussi au niveau national, certaines choses sont possibles, plus difficiles au niveau local, mais révèlent néanmoins les vertus de l'action locale. Par exemple, 3 exemples. Produire du logement et permettre l'inclusion sociale est quelque chose sur lequel vous aurez très facilement un consensus au niveau national. Mais dès qu'il s'agit de le mettre en œuvre, des personnes qui ont voté pour des partis politiques qui veulent produire plus de logements peuvent au niveau local dire je ne veux pas de logement parce que ce sont des logements sociaux, parce qu'ils m'empêchent d'avoir plus de soleil. Il en est de même pour ce que l'on disait hier avec Carlos Moreno, et j'y reviendrai, sur l'enjeu de la production locale. Tout le monde parle de réindustrialisation, mais on ne veut pas d'usine à côté de chez soi. D'autres exemples sont tout aussi flamboyants par leur clarté. J'ai été élu par le passé et j'ai vu des gens dans ma circonscription manifester pour que nous puissions accueillir de manière plus digne les réfugiés. Mais j'ai vu les mêmes personnes aussi manifester lorsque ces personnes se trouvaient à proximité de leur jardin. La force du niveau local, la première force du niveau local, c'est de connaître les citoyennes et les citoyens et de permettre aussi l'acceptation de sujets difficiles et complexes. Il n'y a pas eu beaucoup de difficultés à voter au niveau national en France la mise en place des zones à faible émission. Et pourtant, dans la quasi-totalité des collectivités, sauf Lyon et Paris, elles n'ont pas été mises en place. Comprenez que lorsqu'on parle de perte de crédibilité de la parole politique nationale ou de la parole politique, beaucoup de nos concitoyennes et concitoyens, lorsqu'on annonce des engagements nationaux en faveur des ODD, ils n'y croient pas. Mais dès lors qu'on rentre dans une phase opérationnelle et que cette phase opérationnelle a conséquence sur leur vie au quotidien au niveau local, ils se mobilisent. J'ai donné des exemples ici en contre. Mais il y a énormément d'exemples, comme vous l'avez évoqué, durant toute cette matinée, où les citoyennes et citoyens se mobilisent en faveur. Parce que les impacts concrets sont là. Amélioration de la mobilité, réduction des émissions, inclusion sociale, accès au logement, dynamisation économique des quartiers les plus fragiles, les collectivités locales, les régions adaptent les cadres globaux à leur réalité et montrent qu'il est possible de transformer les ambitions du programme 2030 en résultats tangibles pour les citoyens. Je terminerai sur 2 exemples très concrets. Vous avez évoqué les limites, et je n'y reviendrai pas, sur l'organisation et la gouvernance. Vous avez évoqué les opportunités et les limites, et je n'y reviendrai pas, sur les cadres d'action et la dimension opérationnelle. Je voudrais seulement revenir sur 2 points. Le niveau local permet la mise en musique de ce qui permet d'atteindre ce que Carlos Moreno a appelé hier la proxilience. Les vertus de la proximité et les atouts de la proximité en faveur de la résilience. Parce que la collectivité locale est réactive, elle est agile et elle est proactive. De la même façon, il y a un exemple très concret qui, je crois, n'a pas été abordé ce matin, mais qui est un vecteur important pour atteindre les ODD et qui permet la réussite au niveau local, c'est évidemment le sujet de l'alimentation. J'ai l'occasion de suivre un certain nombre de projets en France où l'alimentation, parce qu'elle permet, en termes de réciprocité entre les territoires ruraux des régions et les centres urbains qui sont des lieux de consommation et de transformation, donne à voir comment une économie résiliente, locale, suivant les objectifs des ODD, peut donner lieu à l'existence de modèles vertueux. C'est le cas dans le domaine de l'alimentation, Mais c'est aussi le cas dans le domaine de l'industrie. En région Occitanie, nous avons travaillé à l'arrachage de 1000 hectares de maïs, dont l'efficacité économique était limitée, la consommation en eau immense et les épisodes météorologiques et climatiques connus rendaient périlleuse la culture. Ces 1000 hectares sont remplacés par du chanvre. Ce chanvre sert à la fois à produire du béton de chanvre, mais aussi du géotextile. Il faut savoir qu'au niveau européen, nous avons une réglementation immense et nécessaire pour empêcher la diffusion des microplastiques, mais il faut savoir que dans le domaine du bâtiment et de la construction, on peut utiliser des millions de mètres carrés de plastique, notamment dans le cadre des chantiers. L'objectif est de le remplacer par du géotextile. Cette mise en scène, le fait que la région achète par an est prescriptrice dans les appels d'offres de 12 millions de mètres cubes de géotextile permet cette transition. Et donc, pourquoi je donne cet exemple? Parce que dans beaucoup de secteurs et dans beaucoup de projets visant les objectifs des ODD, il faut faire rejoindre la performance sociale, l'objectif de transition et la soutenabilité économique. Enfin, et pour finir, en une phrase, je crois qu'il y a deux critères aussi importants qui ont été évoqués ce matin. C'est le droit à l'expérimentation, souvent limité par des cadres réglementaires et légaux nationaux ou au-delà, et puis la possibilité de régime de dérogation dans le cadre de ces expérimentations. Les collectivités locales, les villes et les régions sont créatrices de solutions inventives, et je crois qu'on a besoin de temps et de long terme pour y parvenir. Les régions le savent et le pratiquent. En une phrase, Paul Virilio disait que le 19e siècle avait été le siècle de la vitesse, le 20e siècle celui de l'accélération, le 21e est celui de l'instantanéité, et si nous voulons qu'il se termine, ce siècle, il faudra qu'il soit celui de la décélération. En poursuivant les objectifs des ODD, les régions et les villes y contribuent.
Merci beaucoup, Radzi. And the conversation on the SDGs is obviously not over because we have a full afternoon going into a deep dive into two SDGs. The first one is SDG 13 on climate action at 2:30, and another one on SDG 14 on life below water at 4:30. But before that, if you have 15 minutes to grab your lunch somewhere in the OECD, I would also like to invite you to come back to the room at 1:30 because we have a very special masterclass with François Gémen, who is a professor from the Business School of HEC Paris in France, and he's going to talk to us about how climate risks are reshaping migration patterns and international relations, which is a very hot potato, as you know. So please welcome to come back to this room here, CC9, with your lunch. And with this, I would like to give my warm thanks to all the panelists and to the interpreters for the extra 15 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you.